Hey y'all, Melanie here from asmalllife.com. I currently live in a 1978 Airstream Sovereign with my husband and our dog Bambi. I get a lot of questions about the life that we lead and how we got to living in an Airstream. So I thought that today I would do it via video. So usually I just type up the answers to the questions and post it on my blog as Ask Melanie. But today I thought we'd do Ask Melanie as a video chat and see how that goes. One of the most recent questions I got from a reader was advice on buying a vintage Airstream or a used Airstream. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about how we went about buying our Airstream and advice that I have for that lovely reader who suggested that I do a post about that. So, numero uno. Do your research. So I'm a huge proponent of doing research. I'm a librarian by day. So that means that I love research and I like to know what I'm getting into before I actually get into it. So do your research. See what Airstreams go for in your area. So if you are in a different country, like many of my readers are, buying an Airstream might be financially impossible for you. It's unfortunate, but it might be. I know that readers in Iceland and Australia have both told me that Airstreams are outrageous there. So maybe it's not that you're looking at an Airstream. It could be that you need to open up what you're looking at. Maybe look at teardrop trailers or vintage RVs or even vans. My husband and I are actually fixing up a van and it's going really well and I'm really excited to show you all eventually. But it doesn't have to be an Airstream if that is financially not able or unavailable for you in that area, in the area that you live in. All right, on to number two. So make sure that the seller has all of the proper paperwork. It was a huge pain for us because our seller did not have the proper paperwork. So again, do your research, find out what is necessary in your area to buy an RV or a trailer. In our area, it is very similar to buying a car. So you need the necessary paperwork to buy a car, but in different areas it might be different. So make sure you do your research, find out what they need, and make sure when you go there to purchase your Airstream or your RV that they have the proper paperwork. On to the next one. Number three. Determine your budget for renovations. So this is going to be hard to do because you might not know everything that is wrong with your Airstream when you buy it, and that's just the name of the game. That's the way that it's going to be. But try to figure out when you're going through the Airstream what you will need to replace and how much the cost is. So when I went through our Airstream, I actually wrote down what I thought everything was going to be, and then I figured it up. We budgeted for $1,000 for our renovation. It was $1,500. So I think that's pretty typical. I see that a lot on HGTV even, that people, when they're buying houses, they don't budget enough for renovations. I've actually heard that you should budget double what you think it's going to be for your renovations. And just as a side note, our Airstream did cost $5,000. We got a super deal. I know that that's not going to be possible for everyone. It is also really important as a side note, so let's call this 3A, to haggle. So I believe the lady that we bought it from wanted $1,000 more than we paid for it. So make sure that you haggle if you can to get the price down to somewhere that you're comfortable with. All right, number four. Determine your skill level before you actually get into renovations. Before you even buy the Airstream, you need to determine your skill level. Some people are not going to have enough skills to do this. Now, I totally believe that you don't really have to have enough skills, but you have to have the right mindset. You have to go in there thinking, okay, I don't know how to paint. I don't know how to replace the windows. I don't know how to hook up electrical. You need to go in there thinking, I don't know how to do it, but I can do it. So that is the most important part to me, because you can find anything online. You can find out how to hook up your electricity, your water. You can find out all these things. Airstream forums is really good for that if you're specifically looking for Airstream stuff. But also, I've just found a ton of stuff on YouTube. It is a great resource, obviously, as is my blog. I think it's a pretty good resource too. All right, on to the next one. So, determine how much time you are willing to dedicate to this project. So it took us 3 months to fix up the Airstream, but that was during the summer, and that was when my husband had off work because he used to be an art teacher. So we could not have done that in 3 months had it not been for him being off during the summer, and I also have Fridays off during the summer. So we were able to dedicate more time to it that way. This is a huge time-intensive process and undertaking, especially if you get one that needs a lot of work. So it took us 3 months. It may take you longer. I've seen people online that it's taken years. But also, it's important to give yourself a deadline. So if you don't give yourself a deadline, you're never going to finish it. All right. On to number 6. Make sure you have a way to pull your Airstream. This might seem obvious, but if you can't pull it, you're not going to get it anywhere, even to fix it. So look at your tires. See if your tires are roadworthy. See how long the Airstream has been sitting. If the Airstream has been sitting for years and has not been pulled, it's going to probably be a lot harder for you. So just go in there knowing that you might have to get it towed to the place that you're going to fix it up at. All right. So, which brings me to the next point, is that when you are fixing it up, you want to make sure that you have a safe area, a good place to fix it up. So these are all things to think about before you actually buy the Airstream, because you don't want to get in a situation where you have nowhere to store it if there is some time in between when you are going to actually fix up the Airstream and when you bought it. So you really want to be prepared for that. All right. The next thing is, when you're actually in the Airstream, you need to check for water damage. Now, I have people online who have told me that their vintage Airstream didn't have any water damage. And I don't want to call these people liars, but I don't think they were telling the truth. I think the majority of vintage Airstreams are going to have some sort of water damage. It's just the name of the game. It's their shape. It's the way the windows were made. It's a lot of different factors, but I think that you need to look for water damage, but it doesn't necessarily have to deter you from the project. You want to see how extensive the water damage is. So I know that some people have had to completely gut their Airstream due to water damage. We did not have to completely gut our Airstream when we did pull up our carpet. Oh yes, it had carpet. When we put up our carpet, we saw that the water damage was not that bad. And we actually pulled it up a little bit before we even bought it. Our seller was a very, very sweet lady, and she let us really get in there and look and see what the damage was. So we looked at the water damage and we determined that it really was not that bad, which was great because we didn't want a complete gut. We wanted to use some of the parts that were already here to fix our Airstream. Which brings me to the next thing. I'm doing really good with these segues. So look at what, if anything, you can salvage, because that is what is going to save you money. So our Airstream, the lady who had owned it before actually had been living in it before. So we knew that it was pretty sound. And she even told us like what some of the problems were when she had last used the heat, when she had last used the air conditioning, things like that. So that was really good. She didn't have it hooked up when we bought it. That would have been even better if we had it hooked up when we bought it, so we could determine the hot water situation, the electricity, all those sorts of things. If you can look at it hooked up, go for it. It's a great way. Check your tires. Again, this is one of those things that you need to make sure that you're going to be able to pull it. You also need to make sure that if you're going to take it on the road, it's going to be roadworthy. You need to do a loop, look around the Airstream, get under the Airstream if possible. Some Airstreams will have damage to the body. Ours did not. This was really important to us, that there was no significant body damage. We looked at Airstreams before, the one that we actually ended up buying, that had bullet holes. I don't know how to fix a bullet hole. And that's one of those specific things that I would have had to Google, figure out how to replace the panels. We could have done that, but I knew that it would have cost more. So you really have to go through with a fine-tooth comb, if you can, and figure out what the problems are, and if you have the skill level, the time level to fix these issues that they are all going to have. All right, so I've talked a lot. I have one last piece of advice, and that is to think about also how much it's going to cost to buy the things that go in the Airstream. I think that you shouldn't have to buy a lot if you're going to live in it full time, because you should use the stuff that you already have. Pillows, curtains, things like that. If you don't have to make those, that's going to really help your budget. It also, you also need to think about appliances, how much those are going to cost, and other expenses such as RV insurance. So it's little things that start adding up that really will hurt your budget. So I hope that this has been helpful. It's my advice for buying an Airstream. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. You can also check out my blog, asmalllife.com. I have a lot of advice on there, and other posts about how to fix up your Airstream, how to live in your Airstream, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed this.